The host of the Carton Roberts Show on WFAN. It is Craig Carton, Gabb Goudy, ESPN SportsCenter anchor. It's L. Duncan, comedian Francis Ellis, play-by-play broadcaster for the LA Angels. It's Victor Rojas, ESPN sports anchor. Ashley Brewer, Steven Nelson, who is the host and does play-by-play at MLB Network, ESPN SportsCenter anchor. It is Michael Eaves, two-time World Series champion for the New York Yankees. It's Jim Laird. It's Madelyn Burke. She is one of many hosts at Sports Illustrated and also host and reporter for the New York Giants. ESPN SportsCenter anchor Kevin Connors, Fox Sports and Big Ten Network host and silent reporter. It is Coley Harvey, young up-and-coming rapper in LA. His name is Yanks, the host of Balk Talk and Corked Up is Jessica Kleinschmidt. Zach Buchanan, Diamondbacks beat writer for The Athletic. You had this whiteboard idea. And now, I researched. I'm like, where did you get this start? So I saw, you of course can correct me. Was it Bleacher Report that you started this out? And I don't have a whiteboard, but I have my iPad, and I wrote my message. # don't mess this interview up.
Yes.
I love that. I had to put something there.
Don't mess. You're not messing this up.
Oh, I know. I think it's a hashtag I'm gonna live by for the rest of my life. Just says, don't mess up this interview.
Try not to suck is a life motto of mine.
Try not to suck.
There we go.
First time I'm asking this.
Oh, okay.
Open up your phone. Go on your other phone. Okay, open your Instagram. I'm going to DM you photos that you post on your Instagram, and you're going to tell me about those photos, like a story about 2 or 3 of those. There's a new...
I thought you were going to say go through my DMs. I'm like, we don't want to do that.
No. October 2nd, 2018.
Oh!
World Series, getting showered with the champagne with Tommy Lasorda. Tell me about that.
I would say the most fun I had in my career, the times that I got to go into the Dodgers locker room to celebrate with them, with the goggles, so fun. Because everyone's in a good mood, everyone's celebrating. It's like you're partying while doing your job, and you're talking to guys that are just on a high. Like everyone in that moment is just on a high. They're so happy. They're so excited. They love each other so much, especially this team, because they're the best group of guys I've ever been around. But to talk to Tommy, and that's someone that I got to know when I was an intern, when I was at ABC7. He was always so sweet. He is such a trooper. Like, man, going into a locker room at that age, Tommy is like in full gear, going into the locker room, hanging with the guys and hugging everyone. And he said he'd talk to me. And I have no idea what he even said.
Let's go, Tommy! Yeah! Get it on! Get it on, Tommy! Nice, cool ice bath. Yeah, baby! You got any words? I got more for you. I can't do 2 things for me to play.
Because it was so loud and it was so fun and crazy. I will hold every memory, and I just love everything that has to do with Tommy and with Dodgers.
So I've seen your interviews that you've done, and you tend to have some wine involved. So I see you poured a glass. I've got a Chianti here, so it's I think enough for a glass, so I'm gonna pour some out. I just gotta, I guess, pay tribute to what you've done.
Yeah, to the practice that we're doing here.
Exactly. So cheers to that. Cheers. I guess I'll go to the camera here. Boom. Knock it. Oh, beautiful. Who doesn't like wine at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Day after he died, tell me how you try to compose yourself, and why did you want to start this trend that took the world by storm?
Yeah, well, I obviously didn't compose myself well. As you saw, I cried too in the piece, but it really just came organically from a conversation I was having with a producer. We were just doing what everyone was doing in that day and days after Kobe died, sort of sharing our Kobe stories. And I told him about that story where I'd met him one time ever. And he was like, you should share that on the show. And I was like, I don't want to make it about me. It's not about me. And I literally didn't know Kobe. I met him one time. There's all these people on TV right now that know him, that are friends with him or covered him for their entire careers. I don't know. And so he was a segment producer. He went to our producer and our coordinating producer and was like, Elle has a good story, a good anecdote. I think you should give her some time to do it. They were like, all right, and they were like, write it out, and we'll look at it. And I cried the whole time writing it out. So I would sort of walk away, write more of the show, go back to it, write, cry, write more of the show, go back to it. And I did a couple of self-edits, and then I did what I always do with anything I write, have someone else look at it, and I had my producer look at it. He took a couple things out that he didn't think were necessary, were redundant, and then we ran with it. And I think, I had no idea it was going to become what it did. Honestly, genuinely, my only goal every single show that I do is to have like one memorable thing in the show where I sort of share this one account of meeting Kobe, which resonated with me, and really the joy that he had talking about his girls is what stuck with me. It's why I had been so sad for the last 24 hours, just thinking about that. And it ended up becoming something really big. I honestly, the Girl Dad was already trending that next morning. And so I just sort of, sent out a tweet that was like, wow, like, look at these amazing fathers that are doing this and have started this trend. Outside of just, tweeting about your daughters, like, let me see a picture of you guys with your daughters, because I think that would be really great and cathartic and therapeutic for everybody.
One of my favorite sketches you did when you were at Barstool was the one with Bill Burr, when you did the video where you said, like, hey, guys, some of your coworkers, like, hey, can I show you some of my work?
What are you guys doing? Oh, hey, Bill. I just vet jokes sometimes. I'm a comic.
Oh, you run it by them?
Yeah, like you. I do stand up to these guys to see if it's something I should bring to the stage.
All right, let's hear it. I want to hear some.
These are pretty, like, early stages.
Yeah, no worries. It takes a lot of balls.
You get kind of nervous, and then you say the jokes, and they're all his.
Yeah.
Was it nervous kind of asking Bill, like, hey, you think you can do this with me?
Well, by that point, I'd been at the company for a while, and I'd already shot sketches with Ryan Lochte and Ice Cube and all these other famous people. So
I just think it's different because he's like a comedy god,
Yeah, he is my idol in comedy, and so that was really fun for me. And I kind of just pitched him the sketch as he was coming out of, like, Pardon My Take or whatever, and he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I was like, really? It's like, couldn't believe he wanted to do something. So we did it, and I thought it was pretty funny. And it's like, it's one of those things where I think that sketch is funnier if you're a fan of Bill Burr. On its surface, it's like, there are so many ways that I've watched that sketch back and thought, like, oh, this would have been funnier if I'd done this, or
that always happens, though, like you.
Yeah. We improvised the whole thing too. Like, we didn't.
Awesome.
We had to. So I was like, I'm just gonna tell your jokes, and you're gonna react and do it however you feel fit. And he was like, okay, sounds good.
All this Me Too movement came. All my heroes are falling. Arnold Schwarzenegger, another great man. It's like, how many great men are gonna have to fall to this epidemic of gold digging whores? Schwarzenegger.
That's not only my joke, that was like a closer. You stole my closing joke?
And, and then I was like, oh shit, how well do I know Bill Burr's jokes? Which, fortunately I've been such a fan for so many years. And I think I did jokes that were from like 3 separate specials he did or something. Right. So that was cool.
So you were there, press box, you saw it unfold, and then you had to go in the clubhouse, I'm assuming, just to get the story. What in the hell, like how did that clubhouse feel after the fight, and how did the conversation with Tyler Austin go?
That night, Tyler was up front. I think I did ask Tyler that day. I think I asked him that night if he knew that he had punched it was Carlos Feblis. So asking Austin if he was aware that he hit somebody, I asked Austin that, and he said he did know that he hit the third base coach for the Red Sox, but he said, hey, look, I was just trying to defend myself. So 2 sides of this story. Neither of these teams like each other. One thing they can agree on is that they do believe that this is over and done with. Tomorrow, the page is turned, and they'll be back to square one. And he did kind of look at me like, Yeah. I'm just like,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a major league brawl before, so I feel like, you're just swinging your arms and trying to punch somebody.
Whatever lands.
He said, yeah. He said, yeah, I knew I connected, and I was also kind of surprised he admitted that because the fines and things that were going to be coming. But yeah, that was such a memorable night.
I remember when he came over to the Twins, it was almost like a sign of respect that it was kind of hush-hush, but you kind of knew just from the presence around that, all right, this guy's in our clubhouse. We know if there's any issues, we go to Tyler Austin, and he's going to mess up some heads. I feel like at a roster, you have to have a couple of those guys that are willing to throw hands.
So it was a Sunday night, and they were playing the Raptors, obviously, and it was during NFL football season. At the time, Joel Myers was the voice television for Lakers local broadcast on our network, right? But he was also doing Westwood One radio for the NFL. Mm-hmm. So that night, he was gone. Bill McDonald, who typically did the sidelines, the pre- and post-game shows, filled in on play-by-play. So then I ended up doing his role, which was the pre- and post-game show, right? And so the game starts, Sunday night, Lakers playing the Raptors, no big deal. Kobe has, a good game. That was during a role where he was just scoring at will. So it wasn't out of the ordinary at halftime. And I remember at halftime, after I did what I needed to do at halftime, I went up and met my friends at the start of the third quarter who were at the game. And I'm kind of watching the screen and talking to them. And all of a sudden, I just see Kobe's points just start to go up. And I was like, yo, man, I got to go. Kobe's doing something stupid. And then we watched what he did. And then I did, the post-game show and just reliving that moment and just watching in awe as he was just going off. Anytime he touched the ball, anywhere over the court, became a huge story that night. And then the next morning, I'm getting called by Cold Pizza to go on and do a segment with them because I was there for that. Wow. Yeah, exactly. That's how long ago it was. That was one of the cooler things that I've experienced in my career. I have been very fortunate to cover some cool stuff. I mentioned the Lennox Lewis fight, but I was also in Notre Dame for the push-push game, Kobe's 81-point game. I was in Auburn for the kick-6 game between Auburn and Alabama at the Iron Bowl. But that Kobe thing, because the electricity in Staples Center is different than a lot of arenas you go to, it was just really, really cool to be there. And you felt like, all right, this is the big league, no question about it.
LeBron James, Gabrielle Union, D. Wade, and I think it's Chris Paul. They're in the banana boat photo.
Yeah.
Right. You were on a banana boat in, let's say, like Bora Bora. Right? You're on vacation. You're loving it. It's you and 3 others. Who's on your banana boat?
Like, is this like who my best friends are?
Anybody. if it's people you worked with, your best friends, family, whoever. Who is on the banana boat with you?
Gosh, I don't know. Can it be people I don't know?
Absolutely. It could be anybody. Dream guests, whatever.
All right, I'm going to go with Bill Murray. Just like a random hilarious person. I'm going to go with...
Oh, if I know.
I know, this is like really hard on the spot, Taylor. Like, how do I do this? Okay, Bill Murray. I'm just trying to think of like what would be like the most
fun
banana
You don't
boat.
want Debbie Downers on your banana boat.
Yeah, no, you want people who, but it's also, you want it to be like one of those pictures that people go, I'm sorry, what? Like,
Yeah, tell me, how did this start? Right, exactly.
Yeah. We'll add Taylor Swift, because if Taylor Swift is there, there's always some sort of drama going on, and people are
absolutely.
Very plus, like, she's got great music. And then, can I add the late Kobe Bryant?
Yes, you can.
Can I go back in time and have?
Yes, you can.
I'd love to be able to be on a banana boat with Kobe.
I've asked this question multiple times. I've said to myself, I'm going to ask this to every guest I have. That is by far the best one so far.
Thank you.
Yes. And now why those people? Like you said, Taylor Swift and Kobe Bryant. Why Bill Murray though?
Bill Murray's hilarious. And Bill Murray, I think, is one of my favorite actors of all time. And I just think that, like, when Bill Murray's in a room, it's not boring. So if Bill Murray's on a video, like, it's not going to be boring.
When you and John Butchgrass were doing a SportsCenter show, and they showed towards the end, like I think the last minute or two of the show, you doing college basketball, then at UConn, and then driving back to Bristol and making the show in with minutes to go before the show starts.
Sunday, I had the chance to live out a dream doubleheader, play-by-play of college hoops on ESPN. Cool. And in the Sunday 11 SportsCenter. Tirico did it in 97. Sal Marciano pulled it off in 82. Name dropper. Your boy did it on Sunday.
It was a Sunday 11 p.m. It's a great question, thank you for bringing that up. It's one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had. I'd been doing the 11 p.m. for a while at that point, but I was really passionate about getting college basketball games play-by-play, and it's not as easy as you'd think. I'll leave it at that. But I was pursuing the opportunities, and lo and behold, this opportunity to call a UConn game came up, and it was like a 2:00 game on a Sunday, maybe even been later, maybe even been 4:00.
Right.
And the game was in Stores. Bristol's about an hour away. Got it approved with all my bosses. Went there, did the game, and I remember thinking at the time, telling the producer, like, "Hey, I'm doing both things. Maybe it would be a neat little thing to document the day." It's probably more than a little self-serving looking back on it, but it was fun. But so I got to do both, and it was an amazing day. But I'll tell you this, and I'm glad you brought it up. Growing up, for me, I watched Marv Albert on WNBC TV in New York, and when he was the sports anchor. And Marv would do the 6 p.m. sportscast, and then he'd shoot over to Madison Square Garden and call a Knicks game or a Rangers game, and then be back in time to do the 11 p.m. sports at WNBC. And that, to me, was the pinnacle. And in some ways, maybe it still is. Like, that's got to be the greatest thing of all time. And that one day I was able to live it. So, yeah, it was a really, really fun moment of my career.
You've watched him his entire career. You're there firsthand. And you've watched a lot of great players over your broadcasting career and playing career. Could he be the best player of all time? I know that might be a dorky question to ask, but it's to many people, I think many people are asking now, is he going to be the best player of all time?
I think he's got a really good shot at it. When you start looking, and I'll look at numbers and stats and WAR and all that stuff, and all the numbers and guys that he's already surpassed in career WAR is pretty ridiculous to begin with. But I think when you look at the full body of work, there's still a lot of career left to be played. I think he would be easily a top 10, if not a top 5 today, if he ended his career. But best overall right now, I don't know. I think he's got the potential to be there. I guess, how do you define best all-around player of all time? You know what I mean? Who's the best player of all time? I know everyone likes to argue Barry or Willie Mays. I'd like to argue Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, the 90-some games as a pitcher, and they said, you know what? I think I'm going to go hit now. Then he hit 714 home runs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it was this huge personality that transcended the game. So he was pretty good. Right. Jackie Robinson was, as Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro League Baseball Museum, said, Jackie Robinson, baseball was like his 4th best sport. You know what I mean? It's like there's track and there's tennis. I mean, he was such a great athlete. But I think Mike certainly has, in today's world, because of social media and because video replays and the like are so readily accessible to us that we can see it. It's no longer reading something in the paper and hoping that the highlights show it so that you can add some perspective to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think he's well on his way to becoming that player. There's no doubt.
I read the article from Respect Magazine with you in it. I want to read one quote from this article that I think is absolutely pin perfect what your music's about. The sentence is, with the kind of music that makes you want to put your seat back, pick your blunt up, and cruise down the coast 2 miles per hour at 2 a.m., Poppy brings some of the smoothest verses you've heard in a minute. His positive, feel-good flow can be only described as wavy, and his overreaching message of love and respect separates him from the pack. What does that mean to you?
I think it was I think that really describes probably my whole persona as an artist. Or if I wanted to embody something, it'd definitely be there. New, energetic, quirky flows, always feeling wavy, sounding wavy, PCH using, like, that's my thing, bro. That's what I like. That's what I like people to feel. So, I love that a lot.
So in my mind, I was like, okay, all I got to do is hit a fly ball to get a sacrifice fly, to get that one run in, to get us closer, to be able to get one guy on and have a chance to hit a home run to tie it up in the 9th inning. So, sure enough, I come up to that at bat. Now, I didn't really study Wohlers, didn't know much besides 100 miles an hour. So he throws me that first fastball, 99 or 98.
Correct. It was a 98, and you fouled it off straight back. So you were right on it.
Yep.
And then right.
According to theory, I was right on it. According to where the ball made contact with my bat, I wasn't, because when I looked at the bat, again, it was the first time using it. When I looked at the bat, I found that ball, even though it went straight back, on the barrel of the bat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but Wohlers didn't see that. I can only see that.
Right.
So, sure enough, he throws me 2 sliders the next 2 pitches.
Correct.
And both of them are balls.
Yeah, he threw the first one was high and away, and then the second one was high again. So I don't know what your I guess approach was in '96. Were you a guy to swing at a lot of balls outside? Were you the guy to chase a lot, or no?
No, I stood off the plate a lot, so I would take a fastball in, and I would always look out over the plate. So my power was to right center on a fastball, left center on a breaking ball, because I usually stayed out over the plate. And so what happened was, it always looked like to the pitcher that they could throw a good pitch on the outside corner and get me. And so I think he went with 2 sliders to try to get me, and of course he tried to overthrow them. And then, if you remember the broadcast, Tim McCarver's with Joe Buck, and Tim McCarver after the second slider said, "I think Wohlers is going to the slider too much."
I think Wohlers is going to the breaking ball too much. This situation right here, this is a game situation. It's almost like Bobby Cox is shaking his head. If you get beat, you want to get beat on your best pitch, not your third best pitch.
In that fourth pitch, he throws that fastball at 99, and you foul it off to the right side. Yep. So now you're telling me your go-to area is right center. You're like, all right, I'm ready to go now. Throw that again outside, see what happens.
Right.
He throws another slider, and then the 6th pitch, he gives you an 86-mile-an-hour hanging slider. And if you look back in the replay, Eddie Perez was sent way outside, and to like the chalk of like the left-hander's batter's box, like that far out. And then it was a hanger middle away in a way, and you pulled it to left field. Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, he threw me the 2-2 first pitch slider that I just barely fouled off. And in my mind, I took a half a step back off the plate, because in my mind, I was like, as a catcher, I'm going, okay, next pitch, if I'm the catcher, I'm throwing fastball in right here, because you're not catching up to a 100-mile-an-hour fastball inside. And as I fouled that 2-2 slider off, Tim McCarver said again, all right, Wohlers is going to throw 100, and sure enough, he did go back. He came back with the slider. John Smoltz tells the story, because he was in there charting pitches, watching from the home plate angle, and he sees Eddie Perez put down fastball, and Wohlers shakes to the slider. And Smoltz is yelling. He says, "I'm yelling at the TV, no, no, no." And sure enough, Wohlers does hang the slider. I was a little bit out in front because I was looking fastball too, but I was able to keep my hands back. And Atlanta was a launching pad, and when I hit it, I knew that it was getting out.
The brand new news with Ramon Laureano and his suspension. Is it too long? Is it just right? Because look, no one. If you're talking about my mom, I'm going after you too.
Moms are off limits, fam.
Moms are off limits, and then he's. If that would happen to me, I think I'd maybe do the same thing. And the fact that this bench coach for the Astros, he's supposed to be a leader, and these coaches are supposed to be leaders, and there was no leadership qualities there, and you're starting this, and what does he do? Just sit back and not do anything?
So I can only comment on, I understand why Laureano charged at Centrone.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of times there were people on social media have made fun of or talked about my family, including my dead father, which is like, that's totally
blows.
And I black out and I freak out. But I mean, I physically can't do anything. They're going to say what they're going to say. So when but I can only say what I saw. And I really appreciate Dustin Garneau kind of having his back. And I mean, yeah, I tackled him, but like, it was also knowing Dustin Garneau, that's a guy who is a good dude. And,
Right.
Him and Ramon talked about it. I feel like MLB did get it right. I feel like Centrone definitely deserved more games, but they're not going to be impacted by him being gone. No. And Ramon Laureano, him and Canna maybe are the most consistent hitters on that team right now. So obviously it's appealed, which is great. So maybe they'll serve it during like an NL West matchup or something, not, the interleague stuff or the interdivision stuff.
I am not anti-gambling. I'm still a proponent of legalized gambling. Unfortunately, I just got to a point in my life where I couldn't do it responsibly. And I was making really bad decisions in life as a result of my desire and need to gamble and gamble more. And for me, it was blackjack. It wasn't sports gambling or fantasy or anything else. It was blackjack. My mistress were 6 decks of cards and chips at a table in front of me. And as long as you had that, you could count on me being there. Underground games, casinos, online, it didn't matter. And it overtook my life. And I literally threw everything I had earned away so that I could gamble some more.
When you realize you could get that second chance from the fan in Entercom, and you're like, I can never do that again. And when you had that feeling your very first time on the radio not too long ago, how did that feel to you?
Well, to answer the first one, I'd hoped and dreamt that I'd get another chance. So when I got the phone call that, hey, we want to make you an offer to come back and work at WFAN, it was like a kid going to Disney World. I can't put it into words what it meant and what it means every day still. I was, for the first time in my entire life, a little nervous when I did that one-hour special that I was coming back. Not about how I was going to do it. And I've never been nervous with a microphone ever, but I was nervous about the open of the show. I wasn't nervous about what I was going to say or the content. I didn't know how to open it. And I decided to open it by reminding people I'm still here. I'm still the guy that you enjoyed listening to. So I try to open it with be a little funny and then get into obviously a serious topic. And I think it was well received, and I think the show we do now is being well received. And hopefully 20 years from now, you're doing what you want to do, and I'm still sitting here a little heavier, the same partner.
Hold on. I know you just watched that video. It's pretty good because you watched the whole thing. You made it this far. Just click that subscribe button. It's not that hard. I know you watched some other things, but was it as good as this? I don't think so, since you watched the whole thing. You enjoyed it. I know you did. You're nodding your head right now, and it's like, yeah, I enjoyed it, Taylor. I like it. I want to watch more. Click the button.